Punk Revolution now. Today we're going to be reviewing Lil Yachty's newest album, Let's Start Here. Lil Yachty? Are you telling me that Lil Yachty, the epic rapper who makes meme rap, mumble rap as some nerds will say, if you're a troll, he released a psychedelic rock album and the whole world is losing their freaking mind? You're telling me that Lil Yachty released a freaking psychedelic rock album, a psychedelic album like Pink Floyd? Even though Lil Yachty is a freaking meme? Maybe I've underestimated Lil Yachty's abilities, per se. Anyways, it's an album that has caught the whole world off guard. Everyone is talking about it. Lots of excitement. A very fun little kind of plot twist. And I'm gonna be here to be the critic, to tell you with my honest opinion. Is it actually good? Are people overhyping it because they're excited by the fact that Lil Yachty has released a psychedelic rock album, which is arguably a gimmick? Or is it actually good and people are excited because it's actually good and it deserves the acclaim? Gimmick aside, we shall see. Let's start by taking a look at the album cover. I have seen an absurd amount of discourse about this album cover, a lot of debates and fighting over the fact that how dare Lil Yachty, a rapper with a large budget who could afford to spend a lot of money on an artist, instead choose to go the cheap route of using AI to create album artwork. Lots of discourse. I don't feel like going into that discourse right now. I do have a video you can watch, a little brief kind of snip of my ideas about AI and art. Regardless of that, I do have two thoughts I do want to share about this cover specifically. One being that, first off, just, spoiler alert, musically this album really dives into the psychedelic roots of basically being music that's made for the purpose of enhancing a psychedelic trip to make it more enjoyable. Lots of fun, cool sounds and synths and guitar riffs. Well, if you're really high on a freaking mushroom, it's gonna be like a really cool sound, and that's definitely very, musically, it sounds like a wholesome album that's supposed to make a trip feel good. I will say this album artwork, though, I don't really, I think if I were high on a mushroom and I saw this album cover, it would scare me. So I would argue that in that sense, it does detract a little bit from the music. Kind of stepping back and trying to analyze what the heck is he doing here using this album cover. I saw someone on Twitter saying this represents like a corporate board of directors who are laughing at Lil Yachty for wanting to experiment and release psychedelic music rather than pumping out another trap album that might be, quick and easy and profitable. That's another interpretation. I don't know, it's kind of hard to say exactly what the heck is going on, but regardless, it started a big discourse on Twitter, and if your album artwork is able to start a big discourse on Twitter, in my opinion, that's basically always a plus. So, shout out to Lil Yachty for starting a whole freaking wildfire spread, the whole internet talking about his freaking, the fact that he released a psychedelic album, and then the second wildfire he started, the whole world's talking about the fact that he used AI to make album artwork, which is a thing that is happening and everyone is losing their freaking minds. In terms of the music, I don't know how else to put this, but I just am in shock and awe as I listen to this music from start to finish and just watch Lil Yachty just does not give a fudge, because he is just relentlessly going from one psychedelic cliche to another. This dude is just like a Chad who bursts into the room and says, I'm a rapper, I don't know anything about freaking psychedelic rock, but I like this gimmick from psychedelic rock, and I like this gimmick from psychedelic rock, and it's just as like a 15-year-old's idea of what being high on mushrooms is. Literally the end of the first track, the Black Seminole, which is frankly a phenomenal track in its own right, the end of it has a freaking a woman singing this jazzy wild vocal solo, which is like a direct rip from The Dark Side of the Moon. That is a extremely iconic moment from The Dark Side of the Moon, the most famous psychedelic rock album ever, and Lil Yachty literally said, yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and just take one of the most iconic moments from one of the most iconic psychedelic rock albums ever and literally just copy it, like, shamelessly. That is a Chad move. And there's so many more things he's like, he has a freaking Bob Ross sample in there. Like, again, Bob Ross is like the freaking 15-year-old's idea of what, like, being, like, high and vibing and, like, being, like, a wholesome vibe is. Like, hashtag good vibes Tumblr post or whatever. He has this like weird ass monologue where he's talking about like the philosophy of positive vibes. Like, oh, if I have 10 fingers and I lose a finger, I'm gonna look on the bright side and be happy that I still have 9 fingers. Like, that is like just the most surface level. Like, what are you saying, dude? What is this monologue? Like, you're just like one cliche after another. Even the freaking song titles, they look like it's like a 15-year-old's idea of like, oh, I'm so freaking high, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm trippy, I'm crazy. Look at the song titles. I'm so high right now I can't even type with all the caps lock on properly. It's just relentless. And I think a lot of critics are gonna look at this album and be like, this is not bringing anything original to the table. Lil Yachty is just hiring Lil Yachty's not even in 90% of this album. Most of this album is instrumental stuff that he hired other people to do, because he's not playing the guitar or drums or synths on it. He's just doing the rapping over it, and yes, okay, it's true. You look at the production credits on this album, it's a big ass long list of a bunch of people who are all involved in this project. It's very much a corporate project. It's very much like Lil Yachty is the CEO and he is hiring a bunch of people to do the things to put together this vision he has, and his vision is frankly very generic of what psychedelic rock is supposed to be. However, newsflash, that's like what 95% of freaking music is, okay? Tame Impala, it's just like you listen to Tame Impala and it's just like, oh my god, it's just like ruthlessly just using the most high quality, expensive computer plugins so the bass sounds like nice and explosive, and the synths have these crescendos, everything is so loud and crispy, clean and clear. Just like a ton of like the biggest psychedelic acts in the past 10 years, to me, feel like they already are just using the top of the line, high quality, expensive equipment, and are just doing a bunch of cliches we've already heard in a genre that was literally invented 60 freaking years ago. I'm not bummed out that Lil Yachty is doing this. I'm actually happy, because when Tame Impala does it in a way that, like, it sounds like Tame Impala is trying to pretend they're doing something smart. Well, Lil Yachty is not. Lil Yachty is very straightforward with, yep, I'm a rapper, I'm gonna do a bunch of psychedelic cliches, I don't care, and you know what? I'm happy with it, because if you're gonna make corporate psychedelia, do it right. Rip the band-aid off. Don't pretend that you're smart. Just do it, and just put all the freaking cliches in there, because if you're gonna do some cliche-ass music, do the most cliche freaking psychedelic rock you possibly can. So that's what's so impressive about Lil Yachty doing this, okay? Yes, you have to hire a bunch of people to do shit for you. Yes, it sounds like Yes Tumor. Yes, it sounds like Tame Impala. Yes, it sounds like Pink Floyd. But it's freaking Lil Yachty, okay? It also sounds like The Weeknd at times. It also has a bunch of hip-hop influences coming in there too, with his auto-tune vocals. It's not trying to be innovative, but it just kind of is accidentally more innovative than 99% of the bullshit that you listen to. So I'm happy that Lil Yachty took a risk. He took a risk. He tried something new. Yes, it's gimmicky. Yes, it's corporate. Yes, it's full of cliches. But it's not trying to be anything else. And lots of other albums are trying to be something else when they already are corporate. But this is corporate up front, like a freaking boss in a bottle of sauce. So with all that said, I really enjoy listening to this album. It's versatile. It has a lot of cool things going from start to finish. Like I said, sometimes it sounds like Pink Floyd. Sometimes it sounds like The Weeknd. In like the second half, I'm hearing some tracks that sound a little bit like The Weeknd. I'm actually not a big fan of the tracks Paint the Sky and Should I Be, because they just sound like weaker The Weeknd tracks. But lo and behold, the song transitions into The Alchemist, which is a really cool track, and then Reach the Sunshine, which is like a freaking Radiohead Pyramid song track. It's like, okay, this is weird. It's like we should be applauding Lil Yachty for trying something a little fresh. All music is right now is just the big artists just all sound so corporate, have a huge team of credits of everybody collaborating together to make expensive, cliche, already been done stuff. At least Lil Yachty is using that formula. He's using the corporate formula to try to like just shake it up a bit somehow, and it ends up being a really enjoyable album, and that's really what's most important. I've listened to this from start to finish many times, and every time I'm picking up little new things, I have an appreciation. Lil Yachty, it's like, yes, he's doing cliches, but it's kind of endearing. He seems like a wholesome, nice, fun guy who's trying to freaking just, just make something that feels good. That's trying to make you happy. And yes, it's very corporate, but the album artwork says, yes, I know it's an AI-generated psychedelic rock album. I don't care. That's up front. We're gonna be chads about it who acknowledge it. And at the end of the day, don't be so pretentious because the music you like is also corporate too. That's all I have to say. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Genuinely, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I've already told you all the bad things about it, but I feel like it owns. It takes ownership of its flaws. And it doesn't care. I cannot tell you how Chad it is to just literally rip the dark side of the moon off so blatantly in your first track, and it's okay because it sounds fucking awesome. Yes, of course you should rip the dark side of the moon off. That's a great psychedelic. Of course you should rip it off. I bet Tame Impala's like, oh, we can't do cool things because people were gonna say we're ripping off Tame. They were gonna say we're ripping off the dark side of the moon, so we have to do all this other junk that we're doing, which is also corporate vapid bullshit. But we're trying to hide the fact that we're corporate. No, just rip off Dark Side of the Moon. If you're gonna make bullshit corporate psychedelic rock, just rip off Dark Side of the Moon and do it right. Lil Yachty knew that's what he had to do. And it's a great album. That's all I have to say. Thanks so much for watching Punk Revolution Now.